China, the most notorious region out there in all of esports, known for cheating, and that's what we're going to talk about all of today's episode. I'm going to first give you guys a few references. In the past 2 years alone, we have experienced a lot of Chinese cheaters out there in the CSGO scene, other scenes as well, PUBG being one of them. Many other esports right now, Apex Legends, I'm sure many of you guys have heard about, are struggling with Chinese cheaters. And finally today, we're going to talk about a viral Reddit post out there, around 35,000 upvotes at the point of me recording this, which actually goes into detail. Finally, a Chinese player, and I'm sure many have come forward, but this one has now gone viral on his story and his reasons as to why the Chinese society has been built around and almost notoriously structured around all of these cheaters. So many of you guys, of course, come from the CSGO scene watching this video. We're going to, of course, break it down. In the past 2 years alone, we are no stranger to Chinese cheaters. I mean, names like Fierce Tiger obviously kind of mine right away. If you guys don't know their quick story, quick TLDR for all of you. It was first in an Asian minor qualifier for a major in the finals there against a team known as VG Flash. VG Flash complained about internet connectivity issues. Along with that, we later found out their own internet cables outside their gaming house were actually cut at the time of the match. You guys can see them actually moving their PCs to a neighbor house to try and play those matchups. Eventually later on as well, that same team, Fierce Tigers, one of their members known as Leo, was actually given a VAC ban for using illegal software. And even before this, in an Asian minor championship, that same roster, guys, they played 4 matchups. They made the grand final of that Asian championship, and of the 4 teams they played, 3 of them forfeited their matchups. Pretty suspicious, right? We later found out one of them did complain as well about internet connectivity issues. We had no idea the background around this. Rumors out there saying some sort of higher up Chinese mafia was involved. No confirmation on that, but still seemingly very suspicious when their enemies or opponents seem to forfeit or have internet connection issues. It seems to be a little bit of foul play involved, or at least so we thought. And then eventually one of their members was actually VAC banned, and that team shortly after disbanded. Along with that, though, we even had Captain Mo himself, a former Tyloo member, come to Reddit about this. I will link all the posts down below for all of you. He talked about the extensive situations where the team and himself were approached. Again, not necessarily know by who, but still approached multiple times and even threatened and blackmailed to try and throw matches. Although according to Captain Mo, they never did so. It is very apparent the Chinese culture is certainly corrupt in the cheating sense, at the very least in CSGO, and we are very sure multiple other esports exhibit the same issues. And that's what brings us to the main story of today's video, that being a post which of course will be linked down below. This post has actually been shared across multiple esport Reddit forums. The original post now approaching 35,000 upvotes, about a Chinese player out there explaining his 3 reasons why, as to exactly why the culture in the region over there is so corrupted from the very start. I thought he made some very interesting points, and I do want to clarify and preface by saying I think I still feel very bad for that small percentage, it seems, that small percentage of players in that region who are of course legitimate players who have to deal with repercussions and this stigma around the entire region. But I think it's great for people like him to actually post this kind of stuff and open up our horizons and not necessarily blame everyone we see from that region, right? Of course, I think you guys know the better than to do so. Let's hop into his first region, of course, initially breaking down the corruption over there and of course the stigma around this situation. His first reason, though, as he goes on to explain his first time being exposed to hacks, which is at the age of 12 years old. Now, I do want to quickly say, bounce back to me, it's just there's not really surprising, right? I think all of us have, at least at one point, or I would say maybe a good portion of us has probably at one point in our lives cheated in some game or another. Now, I myself, I have cheated in one game and one game only. I too was probably in my lower teenage years, and it was RuneScape. I used a botting service to fish lobsters while I was at school or while I was sleeping, and so yes, I cheated, guys. Hate on me all you want, hit the dislike if you guys feel so. That is the only time I've ever cheated. I've never cheated in any other game outside of RuneScape, but to say he's exposed to cheats at the age of 12 is not very surprising, although it's still, of course, a very young and influential age. Once you are exposed to cheats and exposed to those advantages, well, it leads into his other points out here. His second reason for doing so, and of course the culture being so corrupted, is he talks about a dependency the youth of his has really gone through in that region, as many of the games they play are actually pirated. Remember, Steam is actually still working on a Chinese version for Steam, so a lot of the games they still do play are pirated versions, and with that they often download what he called a modifier. So they have the in-game advantages, more HP, more ammo, so on and so forth. So as they grow up and they play these pirated games, a lot of this is actually to enhance their solo versions of the game. So when they're playing these games on their own, not multiplayer, of course they're used to these advantages. Killing NPCs all the easier is a lot more fun. And so he talks about dependency. When they go from playing games solo to these multiplayer online games, they miss the advantages and they grow with that dependency, and so they miss having those cheats, and therefore they try their best to actually have those cheats because they're so used to playing a game on their own with the advantages. When they go to multiplayer, they want the same advantages. And his last reason is one that I think, a lot of us probably did not think about. I obviously am not the brightest guy out there, but this was actually a very good and eye-opening point out there. He talks about it's kind of an economical issue over there in China, where they have a flood of the market in certain degrees, one of them being computer science and programmers out there, and a huge bubble burst over in China, all not too recently, means a lot of players out there are now, of course, seeking some other type of job with those degrees. So now picture this, you have a ton of guys out there, programmers, computer science type of people, they go into antivirus, they go into that kind of thing, and now they are jobless. Maybe someone that even had jobs or held jobs in those fields and now no longer do. What are they going to do for a living with those degrees, with that background, other than fight the thing they had known the most about, that being creating cheats and creating hacks and surpassing those antivirus and those anti-cheat systems? It seems to make, seemingly to us in a macro sense, perfect sense, right? You try and approach or try and continue your career path and what you do best if you have no other means of finding a job, no other means to feed yourself or your family, and that is hence why he says there's a flood of cheats in the market. All of these programmers and computer science guys out there now making cheats, making hacks, and selling them online. And if you guys have definitely played the recent games out there, CSGO also included, but Apex Legends as well, there are countless sites out there now selling cheats and selling hacks. And to his defense, he does not use this as a catch-all, right? Just because they're selling cheats and hacks to feed themselves and their family does not make it correct, does not make it okay. But he gives us the reason and the backing as to why this is such an issue in the current Chinese culture. And he ends this post by talking about how him and some of his friends, and of course them being the small percentage of players that are legitimate over in the Chinese culture, and you sympathize with that, right? He's not trying to defend all the cheaters out there or the hackers out there, kind of just trying to rationalize why they made their decisions and open our eyes to it. And on this post as well, he does call, I believe, for a region lock of China. That meaning if any of the games out there like CSGO, they have servers directly in China, just region lock China out of it, because it seems there is no ultimate fix to this right now, as many game developers have caught on to. That is seemingly how they're blocking out the Chinese cheating culture. As always, I hope you guys all enjoy. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. I thought it was a great post to actually make and open our eyes as to what exactly is going on over there. And it does not seem to be anytime soon a quick fix, but it's always good to know more about this kind of stuff. As always, you guys can leave your thoughts and comments down below. I love to reply to you guys. My name is Jake. Hope to see you guys back here tomorrow. If I do not, enjoy your weekends, and I'll see you back here Monday. Until then, take care.